This is the briefing video for May 8th, 2023, 6 p.m., the township meeting. We've got a number of things on the agenda, beginning, always normal. After the public comment, the first public comment, we have the inspector contracts. So this is for the building inspector, electrical inspector, plumbing, and mechanical. The only change here is in the compensation section. I included the full contracts just in case anyone had any questions or anything, but it's just the compensation paragraph that changed a little bit, and it's to make it easier for processing for the clerk's office. So instead of doing a 50-50 split, which they get 80% of the fees, it's actually a 40-40 split. It will be when it's issued, and then we can generate reports to keep up and make sure that everything's being followed up with, but makes it easier for processing the payments to the inspectors, paying them up front when the permits are issued on those. Next, we have Resolution 2023-22 for Love Inc. ramps. And this is Love Inc. does these projects where they raise donations and they have volunteers put ramps to people's houses to increase accessibility and stuff like that. They don't come through very much, but they contacted me and they were looking to get an exemption from the building permit fees. And instead of me just deciding on something like that, I would rather have a policy in place that's gone through the board so we know which way it's happening, rather than just a supervisor saying, yes, charge this one, no, don't charge this one. And so I told them I would write that up. It's up to the board at that point whether we move forward with it or not. But I think it's a good thing, a good debate, certainly to have on whether in this special case we'll allow those permits to be waived as far as the fee goes. Next, we have Zoning Ordinance 2023-05, and this is for a variety of things that have gone through the Planning Commission, including ponds, mining, excavations, and site plans. Mostly it's to do with ponds because there were some ponds put in place that were so large that they were essentially sand mining while putting in the ponds, and so there was a debate over that essentially, and that's what these adjustments are for. Next, we have Township Hall construction quote. So I included and we had approved in the budget $200,000 for remodeling and construction. This part is just for the roof and the AC units on the roof, and I was hoping that come in at about $100,000, which, and this through DL Morris. And since we'll have remodeling done inside too, I think it makes sense to go through one place instead of parting out those things. And the quote they got is for a layering of the roof and then the new AC units. And it's an extra $20,000, essentially, another $20,000 to do a complete tear-off on the roof. But with the problems we've had on the roof, we've already essentially wasted $20,000 trying to do repairs on it. And I don't think it makes sense. I think it makes sense to do the complete tear-off and redo the roof, and that way we know it's good for the next few decades, and someone isn't dealing with it again a few years from now. So I proposed that in here with the extra, but essentially what's needed, including having the architect that's drawing up plans for the remodeling inside. That puts us at the roof and the AC units, and the architect puts us at about $130,000. That leaves in that light item, the way I budgeted, about $70,000 for the actual remodeling inside. We'll see what that quote comes back on, but I want to get the roof and the AC units going because they are going to put the AC units on order. And they're probably all the logistical issues that we've had for a long time, and we're going to have apparently, for a long time into the future. They take about 2 months to get. And so but they're not going to order unless they have a contract. And so I want to get this contract moving along so those can get ordered and we can start getting the stuff scheduled. And then the remodeling portion, the architect's still coming up with plans, sealed drawings on those. Next, we have accessory dwelling units. This was a discussion item last week. I think the board was all comfortable wanting to move forward with the Planning Commission reviewing it, and I try to push changes to them, but at a reasonable pace as well. And so that is just a motion to move it to the Planning Commission so they can go start their process of going through reviewing, adding that. Next, we have fireworks. And so I know Kathy is organizing this and getting everything together. I got her a map recently because she needed it to turn into the state or insurance. And so all the township requires is just proof that the person that's going to be doing the fireworks on the 4th of July on Twin Lake has a state license and insurance. So it's just proof of those things. We don't have those yet, but I also would like to get it passed. I mean, everyone supports it, and I don't want to wait until the last minute. And so instead of waiting until the June meeting, we can just pass it now with that stipulation that we just have to be given the proof of licensure and insurance. So that's the way I wrote this up. Next, we have a land bid opening, those two tiny pieces for a total of $800 is what the board put it up for last month. Next, that's up near the village, but not in the village, on Calumet, and Poppy Way, that region. Next, we have office hours. So Christy and Tracy were talking about this, and I considered it before, but I didn't end up pursuing changing anything. And the idea is to extend the office hours a little bit Monday through Thursday and then be closed on Friday. And I know some of the county offices have gone to that. Some of the other municipalities have gone to that. It's not an extremely uncommon thing. And right now we're 9 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. And so some people, I mean, if you work an early first shift or a second shift, a lot of times you can get to the office during those times before or after work. But some people, if they work essentially banker hours like the township, then they have a hard time getting here. And if you extend those a little bit, it might work out for them. So it's proposed going to 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday. I mean, I've been talking it over a little bit with the employees as well, and some of them are good with it, some are a little more debated on it. It's in here as a decision item because that was the way it was written up, so I think that'll be a good thing for everyone to kind of think over. If anyone has any comments on it, let me know, or let us know at the meeting. Obviously, in a change like that, there would always be some complaints, because any change that occurs, you're going to get some complaints. And if you don't change, you're going to get some complaints. That's just completely unavoidable. But it's proposed in the writing of doing it as like a potential trial period. So if it went horribly wrong, then we could switch back at the end of the summer, essentially. And I know some municipalities do like a summer hours type of thing as well. But I think it'd be more confusing to have summer hours versus winter hours rather than staying the same throughout the year. So I'm a little in between on it. I'm neutral. I'm not strong either way. Next, we have Ordinance 2023-07 for rezoning. This went through the Planning Commission, then it goes through the board. And it's over on Whitehall Road. It's a section that's residential, that's right up against some commercial. There were a few concerns with it at the Planning Commission meeting, and but ended up passing. Essentially meets the standards, reasonable use. Most of the concerns were over traffic and a little bit over noise. But realistically, if someone just developed it as its residential use now, those would be similar concerns. So they're not great objections to it. But I mean, we'll see what the board decides. But it went through the Planning Commission. Seems like a reasonable use to me. Next, we have hearing and resolution 2023-20 for the central paving project. So this is the final hearing, second hearing, which is the final hearing. It's the fourth resolution, which is the final resolution. And so people have the ability to make public comments and do written objections if they want. We've had 4 up to this point. They're not included in the packet because I've included them in previous packets. And make the case that they support it and they want it to go through too, which a lot of times, we hear about the complaints and we don't hear about the support for most anything. And so it's always good to hear both sides on that type of thing. But this is the final step. And then after that, if that goes through, obviously, we have resolution 2023-21 for the central project bond. If the resolution doesn't go through, we obviously won't pull the bond. But so that's all written up in here. Actually, about half of this packet, just a little under half, is for those 2 resolutions, which I could have included in like the reference packet to make this packet smaller. But I like it to be there for anyone that wants to read the full thing. I don't know if anyone reads the full thing, but if you wanted to read the full thing, it is available there. Next, we have one discussion item. This is for deputy supervisor. And so a few months ago now, I'd written an article in the Beacon about me leaving office in 2024, not rerunning, essentially. And I know that's a controversial thing, and I mean, everything that you do in this type of office is controversial with someone. But my whole idea, coming in, even when I was running the first time, was to get in, fix as much stuff as I can in 4 years, and then I have other stuff to do in life. And I essentially made the case in the article that because I'm not running against someone or competing against them, they can come in and kind of see everything, ask questions. I can explain stuff to them, about all sorts of stuff, procedures, processes, laws, whatever it may be. And but I haven't really had any inquiries off of that. And so Tracy was bringing up that it'd be nice to have some sort of transition, succession thing, so it's not so abrupt. She brought up the idea of a deputy supervisor, and I think it's a debatable thing on whether it would work very good. So if you bring in even a part-time deputy supervisor for a while, for like the last year that I'm in office, if they're looking at running for supervisor, then they would know quite a bit more at that point. There's still an election, so that person could lose the election, and then that advantage essentially goes away. I mean, but they could win. And so I just kind of want to see where the board is on that, and any public comment anyone has. And it seems like a reasonable proposal. I told Tracy I put it on as a discussion item, and so it's on there. So people can discuss it, debate it, all that type of stuff. And then a reference packet, very small reference packet. I thought about not including because it was so small, and I thought about including other things too, but they would just be political, philosophical works, those types of things, references. This is just water quality reports, and I included on the North Side system that runs the municipal water that runs partially through Dalton Township, and then it also runs through some of the neighboring townships. And I also included the section that runs through Muskegon Charter, because why not? Might as well be able to look and compare the water quality levels and those types of things. And it was just information that I have that other people might want, which is why I made the reference packets. So that's what we have coming up at the meeting on Monday. If anyone has any comments or thoughts that they want to give before the meeting, feel free to reach out. My direct line is area code 231-332-6700, or email supervisor@daltontownship.org, or feel free to make public comment at the meeting as well. Otherwise, this is Jeff Martin signing off. Until next time.